Today on the DML News Podcast, articles of impeachment are drawn for Joe Biden in his holding back funding to Israel. Plus, Trump back in court today. One of his staffers cried yesterday when speaking about how much he and his wife love each other. We've got stuff on immigration, crime, Paul Ryan, Speaker Johnson. The list is long, and guess what? As always, we're all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. I'm going solo in terms of young Denny not being here, but I do have Ryan behind the controls. He's going to add his 2 cents in when I invite him to do so. We appreciate you being with us on this Friday. If you are on Facebook, YouTube, or any one of the podcast audio networks, Spotify, Apple, or what's the other one, right? iHeart. We are going to give you the full show today. You're going to get the full show today. It is Friday, which means that I have to hold back some of the things that I would like to talk about and videos that I would show you because Lord knows we don't want to get in trouble for showing you the truth. And that's what we're up against each and every day. So I'm going to start the show real quick asking you, please, teamdml.com. That's where you go if you got a desktop or using a laptop like I got on my desk here. Or you could download the DML News app for free from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And then you go to tab 5 on that app. It says Interact. You go to the top of the Interact tab, and it says Team DML Memberships. You click on that, and you come in. For as low as $2.50, you could become a member of Team DML for a full year. And it's $2.50 every month. And with that being said, you get this full show all the time in video and audio both. Plus, there's so many other advantages. We have a live chat. We do text messaging with our members. We give you ad-free news. Our whole news feed is completely ad-free. You don't have to be given any money over, or we're not inviting Google to destroy us. None of that. It's the perfect news and sort of social media presence that you need if you are conservative. So please, it also helps us stay in business. So if you would think about doing that today, we'd love to have you. We have thousands of members and looking to get 1,000 more every single month. Joe Biden. Joe Biden once did an interview with 60 Minutes. Ryan, let's start the program with Joe Biden talking about how he would never, ever even think about withholding any sort of money, aid to Israel. This video, I believe, dates back to 2019. 2019? Goes back to 2019. Take a listen.
News this week to the extent that some of the Democrats are saying that if, because of Israel's settlements policy, that they would look at cutting off military aid to Israel as a result of that.
That'd be a tragic mistake. I strongly oppose Israel's settlement policy on the West Bank. I've made that clear to Bibi when I was vice president. I made it crystal clear to the Israelis. But the idea that we would cut off military aid to an ally, our only true ally in the entire region, is absolutely preposterous. It's just beyond my comprehension. Anyone would do that.
All right, Ryan, let me read this to you and everybody else here. Articles to impeach President Joe Biden over his decision to withhold aid to Israel for political reasons are in preparation, and that is according to freshman Representative Corey Mills out of Florida. Biden's decision to withhold bombs from Israel is concerning due to its political implications. Biden's base wants him to defend Israel, while many moderate Democrats support Israel's ability to defend itself against terrorists. Biden appears stuck between competing coalitions during an election year. He currently trails the polls to Trump, and that is why he's doing it. Democrats accused the former president, Donald Trump, in 2019 of withholding military aid from Ukraine for alleged political reasons. So basically, it comes down to this. Joe Biden and his son, Hunter, were working with Ukraine in ways that some people may deem un-American, treasonous. And Trump got word of this. And he said to Ukraine, Zelensky, hey, we just approved $400 million for you. If you think you're going to get that money, you ain't getting it. If you've got information on an American who is in power as a vice president doing corrupt things, I want to know. So what did the Democrats do? They impeached Trump because he withheld the $400 million, which, by the way, eventually got released. Now come over to what we have with Israel. Israel is in the middle of a hot war. They were attacked on October 7 in a way that is just completely disgusting and despicable and comes right out of the box of terrorist activity. And here we are, always defending Israel with weaponry because they are surrounded by terrorism. Joe Biden tells 60 Minutes going back, oh, we would never withhold. And now he is withholding that military aid for political reasons because he's got various different viewpoints coming at him and he doesn't know what to do. So what he's going to say is, you're not getting the money because I don't want you attacking the Palestinians. I don't want you taking out Hamas for reasons that the whole world knows that you should be taking them out. The only people who don't understand what Hamas is are these absolute idiot rioters, these terrorist college students, and the 40 and 50-year-olds who are paid agitators who are going and literally defacing statues, destroying college campuses, and as far as I'm concerned, are begging the Department of Justice to step in for a hate crime. When you are preventing students who are Jewish from going into their classrooms, that is a crime, and it is a hate crime at that. You are pointing out at a demographic, and you are you are treating them like animals. I got to be careful how I say things here, Ryan, because I don't want us to get kicked off. You are treating these people like animals. You are being racist. You are showing hate. And yet, these college campuses, in large part, let this behavior to fester. The police, in many cases, in many states, are told to do nothing. These Jewish students basically have to live in fear. Violence is erupting all over the place. And Joe Biden gets up there, makes statements about Islamophobia, and you just sit there and you ask yourself, at what point do all Democrats coalesce and say, you can't do this? You cannot do this, Joe Biden. This is why you're getting crushed in the polls. But I guess Joe Biden, at the end of the day, he believes that if he cuts off Israel and he helps Hamas, that somehow, some way, that is going to help him win the election. The problem with impeachment, Ryan, is that even if the House, with its slim margins, were to actually impeach him, it's going to go over to the Senate, and the Senate will kill it. However, I'm going to ask you in your young man's opinion, wouldn't you like to see an impeachment go forward so this way the information that would come out in that sort of trial and that sort of hearing would actually inform voters 6 months prior to what may be the most important election of our lifetime as U.S. citizens?
I think most voters will forget about it in 6 months. I mean, Mayorkas was just impeached, and I bet you everyone's forgotten about that and all the details that were in that case. But I'm not surprised that, Joe Biden is now pulling back aid. He needs to win Michigan. It's a swing state. It's got all the Muslims in there. So, I mean, 2019, obviously he's trying to secure the Jewish vote. So he's going to sit there and say what he said. But now he's in a situation where there is no state that's, Jew-centered. But there is a state that is Muslim-centered, and that's a swing state, and that's Michigan. So I think the impeachment would be good with bringing information forward. But, I think independents, I hope they would remember it. But it's not going to go anywhere, and it's just going to be it's just fluff.
Speaking of independence, there was a poll run by NPR, and NPR asked who was or who is a greater risk to democracy, Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Now, if you are watching CNN, MSNBC, reading the New York Times, listening to NPR, reading Axios, any one of these far lefts, one of the things that they all push, Nancy Pelosi being the biggest of them all, is that Trump is a risk to our democracy. They say it over and over and over again. Well, anybody with any common sense and any knowledge of how history works when it comes to elections realizes that elections, especially on a national level, are won in the middle. This is why a candidate will be, let's just say it's a Republican, will be staunch conservative during primary season because you're targeting your own party and you're, the voters on the right. And then as the general election comes in, they start moving more towards the center because, their rhetoric does anyway, because they need to appeal to the independent voter. Independent voters are who decide elections. And if it's not them, it's China. But that's another podcast for when we're not on Facebook and YouTube. But independent voters are who you need to bring in. That's where the battle is. And that's why they say battleground states like Arizona and Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, a lot of independents in there. So NPR runs this poll thinking that it's going to wind up supporting what they've been trying to say forever, which is Trump is the threat to democracy. But a funny thing came back when the poll results were read. 53% of independents believe that Joe Biden is a bigger risk to democracy than Donald J. Trump. That's on the independent side. Joe Biden knows he has himself a really, really rough election ahead. Incumbents typically have a much easier time getting reelected than they do when they're not the incumbent. In this particular case, Joe Biden has the lowest numbers for any incumbent in modern history. So what is he doing? He's using the press and headlines to try to make it sound as if he is changing the course of some of his mistakes and missteps. Although Biden wouldn't say this was a mistake because it was by design. I'm talking about immigration. So Biden yesterday, the Biden administration yesterday, puts out this whole push that they're going to change some of the rules down at the border through DHS, making it tougher for asylum claims. Now, if you've been watching the debacle at the border, you know that over the past 3 years, according to the Congressional Budget Office, 6.3 million illegal aliens have been given entry into this country, and that's the ones we know of. So now what's going to happen under this Biden asylum move is that they're going to make it tougher for people to actually file an asylum claim. Now, the way it works right now is that any Tom, Dick, or Harry could come across the border. Doesn't matter who they are, where they're from, or what their criminal background is. They will be released into the general public and given a notice to appear for a court date that in some cases will be 10 years away. Now, over 90% of the people who have these court cases never show up, but that's a different podcast. If you are a criminal and you've got a criminal record and that criminal record is ascertained right there at the time that you're at the Border Patrol check-in, they look it up and say, what's your name? Oh, Juan Valdez. Okay. Hey, Juan, we have you here for attempted murder. Hey, we have you here for grand larceny. Hey, we've got you for crimes. Hey, you've been deported 7 times. They are still given a notice to appear and released into the general public. Unless you're a Osama bin Laden relative, you're not getting held back. And even then, I think Joe Biden would probably let him in. Now what happens is that you get people like the young girl Riley, who wound up getting killed by a criminal who was released back into the United States. You get all these stories constantly that we're doing on this show about how it is. Yesterday, we just did about how a 3-month-old was killed by an illegal alien. We got another story here today about an 11-year-old in Florida being raped by an illegal alien who has been multiple times a criminal. So now what Joe Biden's doing to try to prove to voters that he is getting in front of this problem is that if you are caught with a criminal background as you cross over the Rio, that there is no reason to put this through the asylum claim court, no reason to take the millions of backlogs that we have and add to it. You're a criminal, you can't come in. It is the smallest little tiny sliver of what it is that we're going to wind up dealing with on a daily basis. So now we're giving the power over to, obviously, the Border Patrol agents. But you know and I know that the advocacy groups, the open border, pro-Latino, pro-Muslim, all these different groups, the ACLU and everybody else, is going to fight this tooth and nail. And first of all, it won't even start for months because so many things have to be revamped. For months, this wouldn't even start. But when it does, these radical groups are going to push back on Biden, and it's really going to do a whole lot of nothing. Let me ask you, Rye, and I don't think you have to think too deep on this one. If you're an illegal alien with a criminal record, you've been deported from the United States a few times, you've got a record from the United States, and you got a record back in your own hometown, and that record is a little bit more than, let's say, stealing bubble gum from a local convenience store. And you now find out that the United States is not going to give you access at the Border Patrol station if they know you've got a crime. But you've paid the cartel $5,000 to get through Mexico. You've taken flights from God knows where, let's call it Yemen, or you've walked up from Brazil, or you're in from Guatemala. And you know you can't go up to a Border Patrol agent. What are you going to do?
Still sneak in?
Gee, that didn't take you long to figure out. So, yeah. So Joe Biden's going to tell these criminals, we're not going to allow you in. So guess what? That's going to cut down on the illegal immigration into the country, don't you think?
And you said it's going to take months to get put into place, right?
Going to take months.
Okay, so it takes months to get put into place. Say it gets put into place in October. He wins in November. He rips it out in December. So it's basically a headline.
It never gets its light of day.
Yeah, no.
It's basically what it comes down to. Now, what we'll do here is we're going to add a little injury to the insult, okay? Because at the same time Joe Biden's telling you, don't worry, I'm not going to give an asylum appearance ticket to a criminal. Well, the DHS is also going to start issuing ID cards. Listen to this one. I'm going to read this one so I get this correct. President Joe Biden's Department of Homeland Security is reportedly starting a pilot program to provide migrants released into the United States and placed on deportation proceedings with ID cards. Fox News Digital's Adam Shaw reported that DHS officials have confirmed the agency will begin implementing the Secure Docket Card program this summer, offering photo IDs to about 10,000 migrants who cross into the United States from the Mexico side. Immigration and Customs Enforcement confirmed to Fox News Digital this week that the pilot program is expected to commence this summer, with the distribution of being approximately, like we said, 10,000 cards. So while the agency stressed that plans are pre-decisional and still subject to change, it is expected the cards will be issued in 3 or 4 locations in the United States. So one has to wonder, why the hell would you even do this? What is the point?
Do you think it's for voter ID?
Of course it's going to be for voter ID.
They're going to finally fall under the pressure, pass it, and then say, oh, if you have a card from the border, that's good enough for voter ID.
Yeah. So the House Oversight Committee, which is run by Republicans, says the issuance of ID cards raises the possibility that illegal aliens will use these identification cards to improperly access benefits such as housing, healthcare, and transportation. That's just that. But you know and I know that with 200,000 illegal aliens coming over every single month, although the number did go down last month, Ryan, it was only 129,000. In fact, you know what you could do? Why don't you toss up the card right here on the screen so people can see it? So there you go, Ryan. So, you know, the voters who are going to be illegal aliens, you know that they're going to be right there in line, because I'll tell you right now, there's another thing here. Stephen Miller put this out. The Republicans were moving towards a bill to verify citizen status to vote in federal elections. Now, that's already written on the books, but they wanted to have another bill to verify that you are going to verify that the people voting are indeed citizens. And the Biden campaign came out and said they flatly reject it.
It won't get passed.
That it won't, yeah, well.
The Senate will.
Yeah, it's just, they're not interested in it. Nobody's going to look at it. Now, you and I reported, and Denny reported going back a couple of weeks ago, that an NGO, non-government organization, is at the border handing out leaflets to illegal aliens, telling them to vote for Joe Biden. The concerns of every single person watching this program right now is that we're not going to have a fair election. And you know and I know these illegal aliens are going to be the weapon used by the Biden administration.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I don't think that's going to go on in Florida or Texas, like states that actually have their elections locked down. I think it's really, like something like Georgia. I feel like it's going to be a big thing in Georgia, New York. New York's allowing them to vote. So I think it's going to, hopefully it's just not in the swing states. But.
Well, here's the thing. I was proven wrong yesterday because I've always said that the Democrats are going to remain open border advocates. They are going to turn a blind eye to the real risks of illegal immigration in this country: financial, physical, election-based, rule of law, until one of their own gets killed, until one of their own is hurt. Then they'll change the script. Obviously, I don't understand the mind of a Democrat good enough, which is understandable because they're insane and I can't make my brain
I don't know
insane.
if they would change the script.
Well,
I think they're too selfish.
You think they're too selfish? Well, let me tell you something, Ryan. You ready? Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, she's a Democrat out of Nevada, along with other Senate Democrats, is again lobbying President Joe Biden to take executive action and giving amnesty to some illegal aliens living in the United States. Cortez Masto's renewed push for such legislation comes a month after her staffers, one of her staffers, was killed, allegedly, by an illegal alien. Ryan, this woman had just had somebody who worked in her office
Slime.
killed, and a month later, to me, that's almost like, your mother starting to date a week after I die. I mean, it's just insane, right? So this is what she says. In 2018, undocumented immigrants in Nevada paid an estimated $241 million in federal taxes, Cortez Masto said, and they paid $121 million in state and local taxes. We have to do right by them. Yeah. This comes after, like I said, a month after her state senior advisor, Kurt Engelhardt, 38 years old, was killed in a hit-and-run car crash in Nevada, allegedly caused by an 18-year-old illegal alien, Elmer Rueda Lunares. This happened on April 6th. So she says about how much money that the illegal aliens are actually putting into the coffers of tax bins, both on federal and state levels. But here's what she doesn't say. How much money do the illegal aliens drain from the coffers every single month? We know. She says that they added, a couple of $100 million to the federal tax bins. That's even if we know that's true. What we do know is that right now, based on Federation of American Immigration Reform, who does a report every single year, Ryan, about how much illegal aliens cost the United States of America, last count was $120 billion per year. So let me ask you, you're not a math genius, but you are a business major. Is it a good business model to be taking in revenue of $240 million and yet pushing out $120 billion? Do you think you could stay in business for long?
No, I think even the illegals could answer that question.
You're right. The illegals could answer that question. And here's the thing. Joe Biden, you want to impeach him for not giving weaponry and aid to Israel because that's what they did to Trump? Have at it. Why aren't the Republicans impeaching Joe Biden, what he's doing at the border? It would be the easiest, simple thing. You can get out all the atrocities he's doing. It would be all over the television. He knows right now, Joe Biden and his administration knows right now that the two pending issues he has to fight back on in the next 6 months which would be literally impossible to do because it's like trying to move the Titanic before it hits the iceberg, is the economy and the inflation that will not go down. And this is a guy who tries to lie recently and say that he inherited a 9% inflation rate, when truth is even ABC News just reported it was only 1.4. But he's a lying Joe, and that's what it is. But he's got an economy that is starting to crumble because layoffs are starting to happen. The relief from having high interest rates and paying much more for common household goods has not been getting better, has not been changing. And then number two is he knows the immigration issue is a major, major hot issue with all people of all aisles back from Maine all the way to California, up to the north and down to the south. We're getting crushed with this. It's the number one problem in America right now. And this guy is focused in on Stormy Daniels and what kind of aftershave she thinks Donald Trump prefers when he's in his silky pajamas.
Yeah, to go on your impeachment, I think you say this all the time. Everyone has skeletons in their closet. And I think DC, everyone has something on everyone. So everyone's scared at the end of the day to go actually after, say, Biden, because they'll just come after the person that's going after him and be like, oh, we have this on you, etc. And so everyone just likes to look pretty for the camera and, talk their talking points, but nothing actually ever gets done.
Nothing ever gets done. And you know what bothers me wholeheartedly is that you never, ever, ever see Republican states going after Democrat lawmakers like they're going after Trump on the left. It is a one-way street. And perfect example, Marjorie Taylor Greene tries to oust Johnson, right? And there's only 11 of them who want to get rid of this guy. Trump comes out and says, listen, he's not the guy maybe long-term, but now's not the time. Let this go. We're fighting against Democrats. Okay, I can buy that. But Johnson is not doing his part to get rid of Jack Smith. That's a whole nother thing that's out there right now. Jack Smith running the Mar-a-Lago case against Trump. It's indefinitely pushed off, but eventually, Ryan, there's going to be a date. And this, he needs to be defunded. This is a kangaroo court. It always is a kangaroo court against Trump. And Johnson needs to show some spine here, and he's not doing it.
He doesn't have a spine.
None of them have spines. Yeah. There's something about these speakers of the houses. Why can't we get a good speaker of the house? Think about who we've had, right? Even Paul Ryan, right? Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House from back in Obama years, who ran for vice president along with Mitt Romney, who now sits on the board of Fox News, by the way, just came out and told Yahoo News not more than a couple days ago that once again, just like in 2020, he will not vote for Trump because he says that the presidency requires a character, and that character does not find itself within the Donald Trump brain and mind and body, that he just doesn't have any character. And therefore, Paul Ryan is going to write in a Republican candidate, which is, in other words, he's going to give a vote for Biden. And here's the thing, Paul Ryan is part of a swing state.
He's so bought and paid for.
He is bought and paid for.
He's so bought and paid for.
So too is Fox News.
He doesn't care about any he doesn't care about the American people at all.
No,
just his wallet.
And so now you got the same guy, Johnson. You're the Speaker of the House. You're the third most powerful person in the country. You've got the president, the vice president, and then the House Speaker. And right now, what we need to do is we need to put a blockade in front of Democrats every single chance we get. They shoot at us. They kill at us. And I'm talking about this, in a sort of tongue-in-cheek way. They do everything they can to destroy us.
And the House fought hard to get him in, Johnson.
Think about this. Think about how many good guys, they turned down for the House to put this dude in.
Yeah.
And what's he doing? He's funding Ukraine. I mean, come on, man. But don't fund any of that stuff. Don't fund any of it.
Who do you think was better, him or McCarthy?
It's like asking me how I want to die, from fire or drowning. Neither one. I'll tell you who I think would be better. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's put her in.
She would be good.
She's going to take no crap. Let's take in a real staunch conservative who's going to hold the line and say, no, I'm not compromising. Why would, see, this is the part. I get this all the time from people. Oh, well, good law. Back in the day of Reagan, people used to compromise. We're not back in the day of Reagan. Back in the day of Reagan, you had black and white televisions and just starting to get color tubes. Don't compare yesterday today. We are in legal warfare. We are in information warfare. We are in a different time and age.
It's cutthroat.
It's total cutthroat. It's the Hunger Games. You're either going to survive or you're going to die. And the Republicans sit there and they get run over each and every single time. Do you hear anybody? Do you hear Nancy Pelosi getting up and saying, listen, Joe Biden's just way too old. He doesn't have the character it takes to be a U.S. president. I'm going to write in another Democrat. Do you hear Barack Obama saying, hey, man, I always said give Joe Biden an opportunity and he's going to F it up somehow. I'm just going to write in another Democrat. You don't hear any Democrats falling out of line in the Biden army. They all get behind him, even if they don't, if they agree or disagree. They all get behind him. But when you go to the Republicans, it's the most dishonest family in the world. I'll tell you right now, if I'm with my wife and I got a buddy and he's a Democrat and I'm a Democrat, I leave my wife not worrying about what he'll try to do. I got a Republican and I'm a Republican, I don't leave my wife. You cannot trust the Republicans. They never stick together. They throw each other under the bus, and this is why we always lose. What do you say?
I'd say the Democrats are super slimy, and I think they put up a fake mask that they are camaraderie. So, I mean, they never publicly bash each other, but I feel like they're kind of sliming each other.
Ryan, they're total slimes, but they always have each other's back. Yeah. They stick with each other thick and thin. Look,
they have a good image in that sense,
of course,
which I hate to say.
Let me say it the other way. If you were in a war, okay, and we're both Democrats, but we don't kind of like each other, doesn't matter. We're going to get past the fact that we don't like each other and we're going to fight for the same thing. And that's what the Democrats do. They get together, they fight for the same thing. And their war right now is a war on Trump. You do not see a single Democrat stepping up and saying, I really don't like what it is we're doing to this guy. This is, why are we breaking the law ourselves? Why are we creating a kangaroo court that nobody's ever going to trust? Nobody does that. They have to fall in line. They fall in line. But when it comes to the Republicans, you're going to have somebody like Johnson say, well, I don't really know if we should stop taking out Jack Smith. I don't know if we really have the power to do that. What do you mean? Since when does anybody care about what power they have and don't have? Throw out the power until the power gets taken away from you.
Yeah, like Abbott.
Like Abbott. Abbott's a prime example. Abbott keeps on saying, I don't care. I'm going to keep on doing what I got to do to protect my state. And he keeps on getting hit at the knees every single time, but he keeps on coming back and he sees what's going to stick. These other Republicans are too weak. They just sit back and just say, oh, no, we can't do that. And this is why we get railroaded every single time. This is why Michael Cohen, let's get into the Trump case. We'll wind this up. Michael Cohen right now is scheduled for Monday. If you think Stormy Daniels' testimony was a whirlwind, wait until Michael Cohen hits the stand. That is going to be like a volcano going off in New York City. And Donald J. Trump, I don't know how he's going to do it, but that scumbag Cohen is going to sit up there on that stand and tell lie after lie after lie about Donald J. Trump. There was a really interesting testimony. Get your 2 cents on this, and then let's move into a couple little stories here, which I think are interesting that nobody's reporting on. Trump was denied yesterday twice. There should have been a mistrial on the whole Stormy Daniels testimony. There was no reason to be bringing up her sex allegations and her mysterious story, which has changed a gazillion times, and which, by the way, she has monetized this story. It should have been a mistrial. The judge says no a second time yesterday. And then they ask if Trump's gag order can be modified because this woman is getting up and putting lies out about him, saying that he is, cheating on his wife and doing it in a hotel with, imagine being Melania. You're sitting back and saying, my God, my husband cheated on me with a porn star? Now, here's the thing that I don't get, right? Here's the part of the story that just doesn't jive for me. Donald J. Trump does not drink. He has never drank. Donald J. Trump does not do drugs. He's never had a history of using drugs. He dresses to the nines every single day, always in a suit everywhere he goes. Clearly, he is concerned about certain aspects of his life, health, and appearance. With all the different women this guy can sleep with, not to mention the fact that Melania is probably one of the most beautiful women in the world, you got a guy who won't drink, won't do drugs, but according to her, he had sex with this woman who lays on her back for a new man every single day and gets paid for it because she puts it on camera. Donald J. Trump is going to risk his whole life and his health from not getting an STD from somebody who has had more sexual encounters than there are pages in the Manhattan Yellow Pages? Do you really believe that he's going to go with no condom and dive in there and say, hey, let me just go Russian roulette on a porn star?
No, I don't. I don't believe that. I do believe Stormy Daniels is an extortion artist.
As to is Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen too. They're both slime balls. I think they're just looking for attention and looking to monetize their stories. I do quotation marks around that, but I hope Cohen takes the stand, because I think the same thing's gonna happen like what happened with Stormy Daniels. Everyone's just like, you're a slime ball.
You're a slime ball. You're a liar. And this is obviously, which I remember.
A witch hunt.
In this court, these 12 jurors, we only need one. We need just one to say not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we need is just one. And I feel confident that there will be somebody who, for no other reason, Ryan, will figure out that there's money attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being 12 jurors, all Democrats, all New York City idiots. They're all going to sit there and they're going to let their emotions, their hatred for Trump take over everything, and they're going to try to find him guilty because they just don't like him.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be the one says, I got to look at this short term. First of all, the guy really wasn't a bad president. I had more money in my pocket than I do under Biden. All right. So I'll let my emotions and my ideology go to the backside. But man, can I sell my book for a lot of money? The one juror who kept Trump from jail. I hope somebody uses their freaking financial common sense.
Yeah. I think a lot of independents will see the gag order on Trump, and then I'm sure Cohen is going to have a huge mouth. If he goes up on the stand, he's going to be on TikTok after telling everyone, oh, this is what happened. So I think a lot of people will see that and be like, this is a witch hunt.
Not only is it
like Trump can't defend himself. It's like his arms are tied behind his back and he's getting punches to the face.
I'm glad you said that because, I just wrote, we have a new newsletter launching on Monday. We are we were going to call it the Great Again newsletter, but we changed it to the Great American newsletter. And we're going through dry runs right now. On Monday, the best way for you to do it really is you just go get the DML News app, download it for free from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and we'll announce it on Monday. We'll also announce it here on Facebook and on YouTube and whatever. But one of the things that I do is I open up this newsletter with a DML report every single day. And one of the things that I wrote yesterday in this doing our dry runs is that, I'll read you these two ending paragraphs. Outside Judge Merchant's kangaroo kingdom, the world is ablaze. Iran is building nukes. China threatens Taiwan. Israel faces danger from Hamas. The U.S. border remains porous. The drug crisis worsens. Radicals are overtaking universities. And the soaring cost of eggs and chicken depletes our savings. Yet, amidst these pressing concerns, the anti-American media, Merchant himself, and the D.C. elite are fixated on a porn star's testimony about Trump's choice of aftershave. It's exasperating and infuriating, but it's also a compelling reason to advocate for a change in leadership. In short, instead of allowing Trump to be himself by tripping over his own words, the left is turning him into a martyr by not allowing him to voice a defense, limiting his campaign rally events by keeping him chained to a court chair, and subjecting him to unfair court practices that are unbecoming of the American justice system. In tandem, voters have no choice but to focus solely on Biden's missteps. What's going on right now with Donald J. Trump seems unfair, and it is. Seems like a ploy to keep him from winning the White House, and it is. What stupid is what stupid does. And the Democrats are stupid. And what is happening right now, I believe, and I've believed it from the beginning, is that the harder and more unfair they are on Trump, the more likely it is that Trump will actually win the election, because the independent voters and the voters of this country with common sense are looking at what is being done to a 77-year-old man who has no crime. No crime has been committed. There is no victim, again, for the second time, and they are trying to take everything away from him. They already take away his money in the last two debacles, and now they're trying to take away his freedom for something that just is as stupid as them saying you cannot mark down a payment to your lawyer in this particular case as a legal expense. What's he supposed to put it down as? Advertising? And this is why they're going after him. People are looking at this, and you know what? People in this country, Ryan, they always root for the underdog, and they never like a bully. And the left has pushed Trump onto the poster child for what it looks like to be bullied and what it looks like to be unfairly tried in a kangaroo court. It is backlashing against them. To your point, I agree with you. I can't wait for Cohen to get in there, because Cohen's testimony is going to prove how desperate the left is to make it so this way this country does not have the opportunity to make itself great again. Last word to you, and then we say goodbye.
The Democrats are super desperate, and anything is expendable to them. Whatever their goal is, or power, etc. If you're a person or a group, you're expendable.
I agree with it. All right, that's it for us. Don't forget to download the DML News app from the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store. Please, 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 you can get it for free, and you get the greatest news feed that there is out there. If you want to join Team DML for as little as $2.50 a month, you get this show full-time every single day, Monday to Friday, plus the shows we do on the weekends, including the Wine and Talk, Ryan's Cafe, Ask DML. We've got a lot of different stuff on there. You get live chat. You can be with all the other team members who are just like you. You get to have the freedom of speech, and it is a great way to fight back against the left. And you also will never miss our new Great American newsletter, which launches on Monday. So, that being said, we say to you, thank you for being with us. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. May God bless you, your family, our country, and may He bless all of our troops. And as far as Team DML, may He bless Johnny Edwards, team member Johnny Edwards, also a friend of mine and Ryan's. Until the next time, stay well.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.